Fenix was puffing like a grampus, and he slowed his pace. The woman gasped her relief, her body sagging against his as they threaded their way through the maze of wagons. Fenix looked back yet again, and certain that they were not being pursued, he halted, roughly extricating his arm from the woman's grasp as he turned to face her. Released too suddenly, she wobbled unsteadily as she returned his gaze. Anxious green eyes, wide with fear, questioned Fenix's bleary stare. She saw the doubt in his own and hissed, "What now?" Fenix gave a defeated shrug, and then walked a few more paces to a brightly painted Vardo with a green bow top. He placed one booted foot on the step, and crooking his finger he beckoned the woman to follow him. Then, giving her what he hoped was a stern look, he placed 2 fingers of one hand against his lips, and with the other hand he opened the Vardo's door. "No noise now," he whispered. "Don't waken the child." The woman blinked her reply. Hastily he bundled her inside and closed the door behind him. As she looked about her at the neat and tidy little home, Fenix looked at her. In the dim light of the one lamp he had left burning, he could see that he had brought home a fine lady. Dishevelled she may be, he thought, but there was no denying her grand bearing and the cut of her fine cloak. Fine dark blue wool on the outside, and its lining of velvet of a paler blue. She saw him looking at her, and pulled the cloak closely round her body. "Sit ye down and rest yourself," he said, pointing to a narrow cot that was built into the Vardo's wall. She sank down on it, and Fenix moved further into the wagon. What in hell's name was he to do with her, he wondered, as he lifted 2 cups from a shelf above the stove and a bottle from the locker beside it. The amber liquid slopped onto the top of the locker as he filled the cups. "Here," he said, holding out a cup. "Take a sup of this, 'twill calm ye." She drank greedily, and having emptied the cup, she managed a wan smile. "Thank you," she said. Fenix nodded, uncertain what to do next. Before he could order his addled brain, she said, "I apologise for placing you in this awkward situation, but I had no one else to turn to. I could not let those men return me to my husband for fear he might kill me." Fenix almost choked on his rum, a shiver running down his spine as he stuttered, "Husband? Kill ye? Why? What have ye done?" He refilled his cup and drank deeply. What had he let himself in for? What if the men should find her with him? Gorgers didn't take kindly to gypsies, and he had the child to think of. She swept her mane of red hair back from her face, exposing her slender white neck and the cloak's padded collar. It was embroidered with gold thread and fastened with a gilded clasp. Fenix wondered at the cost of such a cloak. The woman gave a ragged sigh. "Some while ago, I made a foolish error of judgment, and now I find myself faced with a dreadful predicament, one that will soon be resolved if only I can distance myself from Knaresborough for a short while." She gazed off into the space, lost in her own thoughts as she fingered the gold, heart-shaped locket that nestled in the hollow of her throat. Fenix felt the urge to lie down. The woman's curious way of talking filled him with confusion, and the drink making his head swim. "Rest ye there a while," he mumbled, tottering deeper into the Vardo. Slumping into a cot against the end wall, he sank into oblivion. Eli Simmonite listened to his only son, a mixture of incredulity and disgust written plain on his leathery face. Fenix had burst into Eli's Vardo at first light. The old man was annoyed at being wakened so abruptly, and even more annoyed by what he had just heard. "Where be she now?" "In the wagon, sleeping." Fenix hung his head in embarrassment. Eli swung his feet to the floor and came upright. "Get rid of her.
Now,